Phyllis Diller made millions laugh with her wild hair and crazy jokes about her lazy husband, Fang. But behind the cackle was a woman drowning in secrets. Every week for over 30 years she drove to the same place. A place her fans never knew about. Inside those walls was someone she loved more than anyone. Someone whose condition she could never talk about on stage. The visit stopped in 1993, and that's when the real heartbreak began. What Phyllis hid from the world explains why. She never stopped working even when her heart literally stopped beating. Phyllis Diller was born in Lima, Ohio on July 17, 1917. Her parents were unusually old for the time. Her father, Perry, was 55 and her mother, Frances, was 36. That meant as a little girl, Phyllis was constantly surrounded by older people in funerals. While most kids feared death, she became oddly fascinated by it. That strange comfort with dark topics would later become the heart of her comedy. Even though her family was Methodist and had German-Irish roots, Phyllis rejected religion early on. She faced hardships young, but instead of turning bitter, she turned funny. At Central High School in Lima, she would joke around with her classmates outside class. Those moments, small as they were the start of something much bigger. When the Great Depression hit in the 1930s, her family was crushed financially. She started selling newspapers to help, slowly building the tough shell she'd need later in life. Strangely, her last name had once been Triber, changed generations earlier, something she didn't even know until adulthood. Growing up in a quiet, often lonely house, she found herself making up stories. And before long, those stories started sounding like punchlines. At just 10 years old in 1927, Phyllis was accepted into the Sherwood Music Conservatory in Chicago. Her piano skills were far beyond her age. By 1939, she was playing professionally with orchestras. But as incredible as that sounds, she quit. Not because she wasn't good, but because she believed she'd never be as good as her teachers. It was a painful choice, but deep down she knew it wasn't the right path. The Great Depression didn't make things easier. In 1933, her family's money ran out, and she had to leave Sherwood after 3 years. She started taking any job she could to survive. Later, she said quitting music may have saved her. She hadn't failed. She had rooted herself towards something even better. In 1935, she tried college again, this time studying music education at Bluffton. But by 1937, she left again, this time for marriage. For years, she regretted giving up her dreams. But comedy would find her anyway. In 1940, Phyllis and her husband Sherwood moved to Ypsilanti, Michigan, where he had a job at a bomber plant. Life was tight there. Son Peter was born that year on September 27th. While the country was deep in wartime rationing, families had to make do with just $25 a week. That financial pressure mixed with new motherhood pushed her into postpartum depression. Between 1940 and 1945, they moved at least 8 times, finally ending up in California. Sherwood got work at the Alama Naval Air Station, but money was always tight, and Phyllis was the one holding everything together. She found comfort in the radio shows she listened to while doing housework. Those voices, those jokes, they planted a seed. Her second child, Sally, was born in 1944. Around this time, Sherwood was often unemployed, so Phyllis took a job as a newspaper editor. That experience would become her secret weapon later. In 1953, they nearly lost their home. But instead of breaking her, it somehow became the moment everything began. She was 37 years old and her career was about to start. Tragedy struck in 1945 when she gave birth to a son. Some sources say they named him Perry. Others say he died unnamed. He passed away just 2 weeks later. It broke her. Doctors believed it was because he was premature and medical help at the time wasn't strong enough to save him. They were still living in Alameda and Sherwood had just lost his job. Everything felt uncertain. Phyllis, only 28 at the time, turned her pain into action. She started joining local theater productions in San Francisco. Performing gave her a place to hide her grief. But the heartbreak didn't end there. She suffered a miscarriage not long after. Over the next decade, she'd go through 6 pregnancies. Only 5 children survived. During this time, she began writing again, submitting articles for just $2 each while hiding her grief behind a smile. Between 1946 and 1950, Phyllis gave birth to Suzanne, Stephanie, and another son, also named Perry. That brought the number of living children to 5. But while her family grew, their money didn't. Sherwood refused jobs he thought were beneath him, even wasting a $10,000 inheritance that could have saved them. They lived on food stamps, barely affording powdered milk. Phyllis earned $15 to $20 a week writing for small papers. Life was hard. She had 5 kids under the age of 10, no help and no support system. But instead of falling apart, she turned it all into a joke. Her future comedy would be full of stories about sit-down husbands and chaotic motherhood. But back then, none of it felt funny. It felt like drowning. By 1952, things got worse. They were evicted from their home because of $300 in unpaid rent. That same year, Phyllis got her first consistent paycheck, $75 a week, as a radio copywriter at Caro in Oakland. The job saved them. She created a 15-minute segment called Phyllis Diller, the homely friend maker, poking fun at housewife tips. The name was silly, but it gave her a voice. Sherwood had spent 2 years pushing her to perform, so she finally tried. Her first real show was at a veterans hospital. She bombed. Patients heckled her while she played piano. But she didn't quit. She turned the humiliation into fuel. That same year, she did her first stand-up gig. And even when they struggled with rent and had to pawn jewelry, she kept going. She told no one how hard things really were. Then came the turning point. On March 7, 1955, at age 37, Phyllis performed at San Francisco's Purple Onion. The audience loved her. She wasn't trying to be glamorous like other women. She made fun of her looks, her cooking, her life. She joked that her food could kill you. People couldn't stop laughing. What started as a short gig turned into an 89-week run, nearly 2 years. The club made over $100,000 off her shows, and suddenly this tired mother of 5 was being taken seriously. Her pay was just $100 a week, but it led to TV spots by the next year. She had read a self-help book called The Magic of Believing and credited it for finally pushing her on stage. After 15 years of homemaking, she had found something just for her. In 1956, she transformed completely. She created a stage look that was unforgettable. She wore a wild horsehair wig, painted her face in exaggerated makeup, carried a long cigarette holder even though she barely smoked, and wore clashing clothes that made her look ridiculous and brilliant. She did it on purpose. She was nearly 40 and knew she had to stand out. Instead of trying to be beautiful, she made herself as ugly as possible and owned it. Her bookings went up by 40% almost instantly. She started appearing on national shows. Her wig collection grew to over 50 pieces, each costing $50 to $100. Her signature cigarette holder was 12 and long and made of ivory.